Welcome to the Three in the Key podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, joined by Ben. Ben, say what's up.
What's up, everybody?
So, again, today, Arnav was supposed to join us, and since we don't really know why he didn't join us this morning, he said that he was going to, but when we made the Zoom meeting and when we made all our plans, it's either he's sleeping right now or he's outside, and he'll probably be outside for the next 3 hours. And so since we have to get the video up today, we're just going to do it without him. His opinion isn't that big anyway for this. I don't think he doesn't have a particular strong opinion on any of these players other than maybe AD and Giannis, but we'll get to them later, and I feel like it's not that big of a deal. So we're just going to do it. We're going to make do without him, but we guarantee you that on Wednesday he should be here for the mock draft. Otherwise, if he's not, we'll probably move it back a week. But there's no reason he can't be. But anyway, moving on from that, before we start, there's really no news in the NBA other than the fact that all our playoff predictions were busted by the fact that Toronto swept Brooklyn.
Not mine.
You predicted that Toronto would sweep Brooklyn?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I didn't. Didn't I say it was going to be like a 6-game series?
5 or 6, yeah.
I
think
you said it would be 5 or 6, right?
Yeah.
I don't get why I thought that. Why did I ever think Brooklyn stood? Like, if you can take 2 games on a 2 seed, then you, if anything, stand a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn's best player was Karis LeVert.
Well, you did say there was no news, but I mean, Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell combining for 101 points. It's a little bit of news, but we'll talk about that different episode. So for today's episode, we're continuing our lists of top 10 players at each position, and for today's episode, power forwards.
So Ben said that we shouldn't do next year projection, but I have one exception to that on my list.
I mean, we can talk about how we think the list could change in the next year, but this list is not depending on how we think they're going to play next year.
Okay, but you have Blake Griffin on your list, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but was he a top 10 power forward this season?
No, but he's still, at talent-wise, he is. And we're not going to talk about this now because it's not my list.
But maybe he won't. Maybe he's lost some of that talent. A lot of that talent was his athleticism.
You'll still have athleticism when he comes back.
Okay.
Just get into your list.
So, should I start?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so before we get into my list, I have 3 honorable mentions. Well, I mean, I really only have 1. The others are just 2 good power forwards that came to mind. My 1 honorable mention is Zion at 11. He played 19 games, but that doesn't really make him eligible for my list because you kind of have to have played a fair stretch of games. And also, I think people need to hold their horses on Zion. Like, people people have to temper their expectations a little. Remember, he's only 19. He has serious injury risk. And there were stretches in those 19 games where he did not play aggressively, and his physicality and his lack of, because he is so big and because he can get fatigued so quickly, he was really, really slow sometimes. So I think people need to temper their expectations with Zion. Doesn't mean he can't be an amazing player. He could be one of the best players of the next decade, but it remains to be seen. This year, to me, really doesn't matter at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can both
for him. Yeah.
So getting into my list, at number 10, I have Montrezl Harrell, and initially I had Zion on my list and Montrezl at 11. But Harrell, to me, has made a bigger impact on a better team, and he's done it over the course of an entire season. He is probably my 3rd place. I think he's my 2nd place for 6th man of the year. I have Dennis Schroeder winning it. But he's had a really good campaign. He's a really good energy guy. He's not an amazing defender. I feel like people look at him and go, he has all this energy, and he's very fast, so he must be an amazing defender. He's really not that great. He's in this weird mix where he's not an ideal small ball center, but he's not an amazing defensive power forward. So on the defensive end, he's kind of weird, but he's a good lob target. He has a good inside game. He's a good rebounder. He runs the floor. He's actually a solid passer. And I think he could actually be way more effective if he developed a mid-range game. I think he could get from like what? He's an 18-8 guy right now. I think he get to like 20-10 or like 21-10 with a mid-range game. I think that would really benefit him. But he's actually a really solid overall player. People might just look at him and think that he's an energy intangibles guy, but he's also just he's a solid passer. He's a big physical presence. He's sort of mobile on defense, but I'd like him to be better on that end. But I have him at number 10. At number 9, I have Kevin Love. I'm not particularly big on Kevin Love. He's not the defender he used to be, and because of injuries and age, he's kind of slowed down in recent years. He's still like 17-8 a game on a bad team, albeit. So really that his ability to stretch the floor and his good numbers will only take him so far. I think he's more talented than Montrez. He's a good bit more talented, and I think without injury, if he weren't hurt all the time, then I think he could be higher. And but I have him at number 9 simply because he's on a bad team, and it's not like after LeBron left, he went to a 23-12 guy again. So anyway, at 8, I have Al Horford, who I think has been disappointing this year. I would have liked him to shoot the 3 a lot better.
I thought he was going to mesh better with the Celtics because not the Celtics, sorry, the Sixers, because he was good. He was a good fit with the Celtics, and I thought he would be like a good presence, good defender, vet, obviously, very smart, and like
he's a very savvy player.
But it wasn't. As you said, he didn't have a great season
because. So the Sixers' biggest problem is that they don't have floor spacing, and since their 2 best players need floor spacing around them to be effective, because obviously Embiid needs to be the only player inside, and Ben Simmons can't shoot, so he needs shooters to pass to. Al Horford was supposed to be a good spot-up shooter. I would have liked to see him shoot like 38% on 6 attempts. That didn't really happen. I would have also liked to see him shoot a good mid-range game. He actually has a good face-up game, and he has this cool fadeaway hook shot or jump shot that he goes to from the elbow from time to time. But I would say he had a disappointing year, and the Sixers overall had a disappointing year. But
he didn't play. He played decent when that stretch of games when like Shake Milton was going nuts, when like Simmons and Embiid were both.
Yeah, because they were spacing the floor more, so I think he had more room. But I think you'd rather have Embiid have that room rather than Horford, because Embiid is a good bit better in the inside at least. But I think Horford is still a good player. He's a good 3-level scorer for a big man. He's a really good passer. He's a very good defender. He's one of the only guys in the league that can contain Joel Embiid, which is, I think, why the Sixers got him, because he got killed against the Celtics last year, and by taking away their one weapon against him, one of the only guys that can guard him, that kind of made them a better matchup against the Celtics. Obviously, that didn't work because the Celtics swept them, but still, Al Horford's a really good overall player. I just think he had a disappointing year, and I think he could be better than this, but I don't expect him to improve. He's peaked at this point. He's sort of capped. He doesn't really have any. I guess he could become a better spot-up shooter, and I think if he can become if he can be a good pick and pop guy, that would greatly improve his value. But as of where he stands right now, I can't put him higher than this. So at 7, I have Paul Millsap, who is a good bit better of a spacer. And oh shoot, you know who I just forgot? Is LaMarcus Aldridge a power forward?
I would put him on my centers list.
Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna make sure. Shoot, because if LaMarcus Aldridge is a power forward, then that kind of messes.
I mean, he technically played
center. Okay, good. He played center this year. Anyway, so Paul Millsap is a good back to the basket player. He's got a solid post game. He can knock down open threes. He's not. I feel like people sort of overrate his 3-point shot. He's not an amazing 3-point shooter, but he's just got a solid shooting game. He's got a good post fadeaway game. He's a good passer. He's a really good veteran, solid defender. I think PJ Washington of the Hornets is kind of like what I think. That's like the next Paul Millsap, right? I think Paul Millsap in the modern day, like if there's a player like that, and PJ Washington is the guy that's kind of going to be is the next Paul Millsap. Kind of works as a small ball center, I guess, with his ability to defend multiple positions. He's got good size. He's big and strong. He's a good veteran. He's a smart player. But I don't think that's where he's best. I think he's a good pick and roll guy. He's just solid in a lot of facets of the game that you want a good veteran power forward like him to be. So yeah, I have him at number 7, and obviously he does make a big impact on the Nuggets team. Mm-hmm. So I think tied for 6 and 5. I initially had one guy over the other, but I think I'd say they're probably tied, depending on when you ask me. But I have Domantas Sabonis and Draymond Green. So I'll start with Sabonis. Sabonis is kind of a weird player because he's got a lot of the attributes of a old school big man. Like, he's not a good 3-point shooter. He's not a particularly amazing mobile defender.
But he's not a bad 3-point shooter. He's not
a bad 3-point shooter, but I'd like to see him get better. I'd like to see him at least be I think he could be an above average 3-point shooter. There's no reason he can't be.
Mm-hmm. But his fundamentals and his shot aren't bad.
He's really athletic. He's actually a solid lob threat. He's a good pick and roll player. He's got a good mid-range game. He's really strong. He has great passing. He's got great IQ. I think that comes from his dad. Arvydas is one of the best passing big men in the history of basketball. But he's a really good overall player. Made his first All-Star team this year, obviously. He's just got a lot of fundamentals that you want in a modern big. Obviously, he's not a good enough shooter, and he's not a good enough perimeter defender or rim protector for him to fit in either of those categories. But I think if he could become I don't think he'll ever become a good rim protector, but if he can become a good perimeter defender, like if he can move his feet switch on to multiple positions, that would really help his value. But I think right now, I think this is a good spot for him. I definitely think he's better than Paul Millsap and Al Horford, but I definitely don't think he's better than the 5 guys. I don't think so. At 5, I have Draymond Green, who I think is better than Domantas Sabonis, but I think that's only in that Warrior system, and I kind of have to take away points because he played horrible this year. Now I gave him a pass. I gave him a pass because the Warriors I think this year didn't matter at all for the Warriors. This was just the restock and reload year because they lost Harrison Barnes a couple of years ago. They lost Iguodala. They lost, obviously, Durant, which was the big one.
And Klay Thompson and Curry.
And Klay Thompson and Curry got hurt, right? So this year, they got Andrew Wiggins in the D'Lo trade, which I think was a decent move, but I think if they can fix Andrew Wiggins, if he can become a better defender, I think if he can at least be a Harrison Barnes type, just a 3-and-D guy that's very versatile. Mm-hmm. I think if he can be that, which I don't think he will be, but he could. I think
it's possible.
There's no reason he can't, but I don't think that's who he is, and I think it's all in his head. But anyway, back to the Warriors and Draymond Green. Draymond worked amazing in the 73-and Warriors system because of his passing ability, his ability to switch on to multiple positions.
But to be fair, that was 4 years ago.
That was 4 years ago, but it's not like he has particularly regressed since then. It's just once they got Durant, the thing is with that next Warriors chapter, he didn't really fit in because it stopped being about fundamentals and about a system, and it just was about having so much talent that you would just overwhelm your opponent, which obviously worked for 2 championships. Probably could have been 3 if Durant wasn't hurt. But anyway, the Draymond works super well in the right system when you have shooters around him, when he can handle the ball a lot. He's a great passer. His passing to me is very underrated. He's an amazing defender. I also think his defense is underrated. I think he gets a lot of hate for the things he says off the court, which I don't think is warranted. But, yes, he does say a lot of stupid stuff sometimes, but that doesn't mean he's a bad player. And I think people, that kind of clouds their judgment of him, right? He's an amazing intangibles guy, right? He's, to me, in my opinion, he's a Hall of Famer because of just how well he worked on those 2 teams.
I think he could be. I'm not sure if it's 100%, but
I don't think he's.
It depends how the rest of his career goes in terms of bouncing back from this season.
Yeah, I think it all depends on this season. If he is garbage this year, and he's slow, and he isn't a good defender anymore. And
The Warriors don't play well or
it's
whatever.
all about the system, right? But I don't see any reason why it can't work. I mean, Curry and Clay's injuries aren't ones that affect shooters, especially if their shooters aren't particularly athletic.
Mhm.
Neither Steph nor Clay use their athleticism a ton. But I think once everything comes back into play, assuming I think it would be really unfortunate if these injuries hindered them, but I don't think it will. So I expect this team to be at least 90% of what the 73-9 team was, or what the team before that was, which is still a really good team. And they have some new looks. If they get Denny Avdija in the draft, we'll get to that on Wednesday, but I think they should take Denny in the draft if they're going to keep the pick. If they get him in the draft, and then they have Wiggins, and then they might have some room to sign some guys. They obviously have Marquise Chris, who's a good rim runner. They have him to throw at more traditional bigs. So there's no reason Draymond can't be at least 90% of what he was in 2016. So that's why
Are you saying the Warriors are going to win 65 games?
I'm saying they could be a contender.
But are you saying they're going to win 65 games?
No, I'm saying they could.
Well, you said they could be 90% of the 73-9 team.
Well, the core can be. I mean, obviously they have different looks. We'll all have. I'm not determining. Like the West has changed a lot since then, right?
Yes.
Think about that. The West back then, right? The Clippers were running Lob City still. They're a completely different look. The Rockets are now running micro ball. The Lakers are actually good. So a lot has changed. So it's not. I think competition has become more difficult because the league is just so damn stacked now. But I still think they can be a borderline contender. There's no reason they can't be. Like, they still have the big three. The boys.
I think they could still be. I feel like they're going to be like 3, 4, 5 seed.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that's a reasonable expectation, which is still good. That's still good.
Still good.
And the thing is with the Lakers and the Clippers, there's no reason to believe the Lakers will be better next year. Everything will probably be the same. If they re-sign guys, they'll have a few different looks, and LeBron will just be a year older, right? So I think there's no reason they can't be.
Wait, so you're still on number 5, Draymond Green?
Yes, but at number 4, I have Kristaps Porzingis, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the NBA.
Oh, wait, before you go on, I'm just going to say that he's not on my list because I'm just going to put him in my center list just because of the way the Mavericks used him. But you can keep him.
That's a fair point.
But you can keep him in your list. I think it's fair to have him in either one.
That's totally valid.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he did play power forward, and like, to me, if you play power forward, then you're a power forward. Regardless of how you play, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a huge discrepancy. Yeah, he played power forward, but it is what it is. So anyway, to me, Kristaps is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. Not because I think people underrate his talent, but I think people underrate like what he forget about. I think that Knicks season where he was an all-star, people forgot about that, right? Because first of all, people might look at his box score this season and think that he had a fall off, but really, there are 2 reasons why I disagree with that. First of all, there were a lot of growing pains with Luka. Remember, this is his first year playing with Luka, right? Luka is only 20, and it's his second season, and Kristaps has never played with another good player other than Carmelo Anthony, which doesn't count. So there's a lot of growing pains there. They have to figure each other out, and I guarantee you that this will work much better next year. I fully expect Kristaps Porzingis to be the best version of Kristaps we've seen yet next year. I think next year's Kristaps will be much better than anything we saw in New York and will be way better than this year's. I would be very disappointed otherwise.
Yeah.
So
I would agree.
I don't think there's any reason he can't be better. He's a solid rim protector. I think his defense is a little overrated. He's fairly spindly, and he's not super fast. He's sort of slow-footed, but he has really great length and size. Obviously, he's a good shot blocker, but he's not amazing on that end. I think he's passable, though. He's a really good shooter, albeit somewhat inefficient. He's like, I wouldn't say, no, he's not inefficient. Now that I'm looking at his attempts, he's shooting 7 a game, for God's sake, on average efficiency. So for a big man, that's actually fairly elite. So he's a really good shooter. He's not a great rebounder, but I think his spindliness and the fact that he's not a particularly physical player hinder him. But I don't see a reason why he can't improve on that end. He's become stronger year in, year out. So I think he's a really good shooter. He's a really good offensive player, albeit fairly inefficient from the field overall. I think he needs to become a better finisher at the basket, and he needs to develop his post game more.
Yeah.
But I think that 3-point shot's already really good. Like, if you can shoot average on 7 attempts as a 7'3" power forward, that's really elite. I think he needs to become a little bit better of a pick and roll player and a pick and pop player, but he's already an amazing player, and I expect him to be an all-star next year. I expect the Mavericks to be borderline contenders as long as they make a trade.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on from Kristaps to my number 3 spot, someone who's already solidified, and we don't need that doesn't have too many question marks to me, is Pascal Siakam at 3. Pascal is actually, to me, was in the race for most improved player at the start of the year. He's obviously cooled down a little bit, but he's still a 23-point guy on one of the most surprising teams in the NBA. He's a really good defender. He's really lengthy. He's really mobile. He can switch onto a lot of positions. He runs the floor well. He gets a lot of deflections. He can block shots. He's a really smart player on both ends. His handles are kind of weird because of his length and his body type. The shape of his body is really awkward, and because of that, like when he's handling the ball, he does this weird thing where whenever he's holding it, he sort of almost loses it, and it looks like he's about to lose it, but because of his ridiculous length, he just reels it in. Because of that, it's really hard for defenders to get deflections on him. He's a good finisher at the rim. He doesn't finish with like power, but he just is a very finesse type player. He's got a good pull-up game, actually. He's a good spot-up shooter. He's not really a lob threat or anything like that. He's not a particularly like strong player.
I mean, in transition, he can.
He's a really good transition player as well.
Very good.
No need to run the floor. He's got good hands. He's just a really smart player on both ends. Like, he does a lot of things that that you really appreciate from a player. He shoots the 3 at a good rate for his size and for his position. He runs the floor. He plays defense and can guard every position pretty much. Maybe not point guards or like big centers, but that's still pretty solid. And there's no reason he can't get better. There's really nowhere to go but up from here, right?
Yeah.
So I have him at number 3. I think he's a good bit better than Kristaps right now. But I think Kristaps could be on that same level in a couple of years. But yeah. I don't think he's better. Obviously, my number 1 and 2, you guys probably already know.
You don't even have to explain those two.
But at number 2, I have Anthony Davis, who is one of the best rim protectors and one of the best defensive power forwards in the league. He should play center, but because he's prone to getting lots of small injuries, he's very hesitant to play that. He sort of refuses to. He doesn't refuse to, but he has an extreme hesitance to play center. But there's no reason like he should play center.
The Lakers do have 2 other pretty decent centers.
But let's be honest. Why did they get those centers? Because
Anthony Davis
didn't want to play center, right? Anthony Davis has here's the thing with Anthony Davis, right? If he plays center, he's very, very mobile. He's very fast. He's a very smart big man, and he has a lot of point guard skills because he played point guard in high school. So he's kind of a mismatch on big man. We saw that he put Hassan Whiteside in the spin cycle, hitting him with a step back yesterday. That's just a taste of what he can do. And then because he's so big, he's a mismatch on smaller players. And he's also a very skilled player. So if he plays center, he becomes much more of a mismatch. And I think his ceiling is higher. It's just like that affects his durability. And I think I can get by the fact that he doesn't play center, but when he does, he's a lot better.
Yeah, and then your number 1 is obviously.
He's still a 26-8 guy with good passing, and he's going to be second in DPOY to me, but he's still a DPOY contender. So that's good. But anyway, my number 1 spot, I have Giannis Antetokounmpo, a.k.a. the Greek guy, a.k.a. the alphabet, a.k.a. the guy that's good at basketball. You know, he's pretty okay. But in all seriousness, Giannis is He's to me the best player in the world. He is probably going to win MVP this year. He should.
And Defensive Player of the
And I
Year.
think he should win DPOY as well. He's a super impressive specimen. We've never seen a player like him, and it's kind of hard to compare him to anyone else. And it's kind of he has some unfair advantages, but that's kind of the way it is. Like everyone has some kind of advantage going for them in the NBA. Like Pascal has crazy length, right? That's something that Steph Curry doesn't have, right? But Steph Curry has incredible shooting. That's like everyone has their natural advantages. But Giannis is also super skilled. He has great handles. He runs the fast break well. He's
Amazing footwork.
Amazing footwork. He's a great passer. His three-point shooting, I think, is overrated. I think people act like he's a good three-point shooter, and I also think that his three-point shooting potential is overrated. People think that if he develops a three-point shot, he'll become this unstoppable player. I was also of this mindset. But I thought about it, and it's like you would rather have him in the on the inside anyway. So it's not like even if unless he becomes an elite shooter, like you'd rather him be in the post.
I think if he becomes an elite shooter, the way to stop him is zone.
Well, yes, but he can break down a lot of guys because he's so versatile and he's such a
only top teams could run zone against him. Like I think.
But anyway, I think that's my list. Do you have anything you disagree with?
Not really. It seemed pretty good. I have a couple of guys that you put in your list, or that I have honorable mentioned, and.
I didn't mention guys like John Collins or Larry Markkinen. If we talk about Larry and John specifically, those two, I expect them to bounce back next year. They had unfortunate years. Larry because of a coach that couldn't even see a blind person could coach better than Jim Boylan, and John Collins because of the suspension. Just because of the Hawks situation. He actually had a solid year. Mm-hmm. But I didn't mention them because I just don't think they're not in the same tier as the guys.
Yeah. All right, so
they will be.
Head to my list, and then we'll finish up.
Yeah.
So before I get to my list, as Andrew did too, I'd like to mention some honorable mentions. So I got Paul Millsap, obviously helping the Nuggets win, but I mean now they're down 3-1. Reading out of him on his list, I definitely think he would have been a top 10 player or top 10 power forward. Like he was an all-star, he was great, but I just don't think
he's fallen off in Denver. I think.
Yeah,
I still think
he's still good. He's still good, and I still do think that like he's acceptable on people's lists. But in my opinion, I have him like at 11, 12. And I also have Al Horford on my honorable mentions just because of, like, I think skill-wise he's a top 10 power forward in the league, but just the way he played this season, I don't think he deserves it.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And then my last honorable mention is Lauri Markkinen, just because, well, yeah, as you said, he wasn't in a great system, not a good coach. I think he's going to be good. Shares a birthday with me. I mean, that doesn't matter, but had to put it out there.
I actually think you're giving Coach Boylan way too much. You're not giving him enough flack to say he was.
I'm not going to yell at him that he's an egghead like you do because
he is not just not a good coach. He is
a horrible coach. There you go.
He might very well be the worst coach ever, and that is not even an exaggeration. But anyway, I don't want to talk about Boylan.
And at number 10, I don't think I saw him on your list. I'm not sure. I got Danilo Gallinari. I don't think you put him in.
Shoot, is he a power forward?
I'm pretty sure he played power forward this season.
I think I had him on my small forwards. I didn't have him on my small forward list. Hey, can I make an edit there?
You can just honorable mention him and say that
if I consider Danilo Gallinari, I did not consider him until now. That's actually a good point. Danilo is a top 10 power forward.
Yeah. All right. So I have him at number 10. I feel like he could be higher on my list, but I just feel like there's so many guys that have done, like, are on better teams and have done more. Obviously, his team might get swept. That's not really why I put him there. Great scorer. Brought a lot to this OKC team at that 4 position this season. I'm impressed with what he did, but he is getting up there in age. He's 31, 32, so
yeah, he's
still a good player, but that's why I have him number 10. So number 9, who I didn't really consider until Andrew brought him up. I was going to put him on my centers list, But, I mean, I don't really know because his team is kind of weird and kind of positionless at times. I got Montrezl Harrell.
Oh, shoot. You know who I also forgot? I also think should be on my list because of the way he's played in the bubble and the way he fits on his team. Robert Covington. Robert Covington's defense.
I was going to honorable mention him, but then I didn't.
Defense and his shooting, to me, makes him a top 10 power forward. I actually think I put Millsap too high, and I think I put Kevin Love on this list when that was uncalled for since his team is garbage, and he really hasn't. He's only getting worse.
Yeah.
So I think I put Rico on my list because he's just so versatile.
But yeah, anyway, I think I'd put him in my honorable mentions if I.
Okay.
Anyways, Montrezl Harrell, yeah, great, good, pretty decent defender for the team. An energy guy, he'll go get rebounds. He's aggressive on the offensive end. Got into a little scuffle with Luka. I did apologize to him, but then Luka hit the buzzer beater on his team. But still, Montrezl Harrell, very good player, aggressive. I would want him on my team. Just brings that energy and really what you want to see out of a player like him. So I have him at number 9. Number 8, I don't think you had him on your list either. He's not on a great team, but I think he proved himself on the offensive end this year. I have Julius Randle.
I disagree because Randle is very inefficient, and his numbers were hella inflated. But
I just think that he's just he's a good scorer. He'll get the job done. He's a dominant power forward. So I have him at number 8. I don't know really not much else to say about him. I feel like he could have been more efficient on a better team, as he was taking a lot of more shots than he should be. But that's just mostly because he's on the Knicks. So I have him at number 8. At number 7, I have Kevin Love, who may not be on a great team, maybe didn't have the greatest season, but we know he can get out their job done. He can score the ball, he can shoot the ball. Pretty good defender, good leader, good vet in the league. I believe that if the Cavs get some better players, he can contribute more, and they can actually maybe make the playoffs in the next couple of years. He is getting up there in age, but I do believe he can still be a top 10 power forward in the league for a couple more years. So I have him at number 7. At number 6, I mean, I feel like he could deserve to go higher, but I feel that with this season's performance, he's probably going to bounce back. But as of now, I'm going to keep him at 6. I got Draymond Green. Andrew touched on him a lot. Good defender, great team player. He contributed a lot to the Warriors teams. Great in the system. I think, as we said before, they're going to be a good team next season. They're going to be a high seed. They're going to be a contender, and I think he's going to contribute. Even in the 2019 finals, he was playing good defense. He was scoring the ball. So I feel like people really look down on him because of this season. But as we talked about, at the end of the day, it's really not too much his fault. I mean, he could have shot the ball better. He needs
where that shooting went.
The only thing that has been affected from my point of view is his shooting. He was knocking the ball down, shooting, I don't know, over 35% from 3, maybe even 40. I don't think so though. For when one of those seasons with the Warriors back in before Durant, and ever since then he hasn't really been on that level. So I'm not sure really what happened, but hopefully he'll get his edge back on the offensive end. So I have Draymond Green at 6.
That's fair.
At number 5, you honorable mentioned him. I think he's a little bit high, but I'm just going to keep him there. I got John Collins.
Oh my God, at 5?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ.
I think he's going to be a very good player. I think he played well this season. I mean, obviously the suspension, but I think he had a good season with the Hawks. I think he'll be better next season too. Fits very well with Trae Young. And yeah. So I think
he's a good player, but he is not better than – he is not the 5th best power forward in the league.
I truly believe he's better than all those other guys.
He's an okay.
I would rather have him on my team because he's young and he's going to get better, not because he's better right now, but he will be.
You don't know that he'll get better. He's basically been stagnant for 2 years now.
I still believe that he will get better.
Okay, fine, whatever.
And that's my opinion. So I have him at 5. At number 4, I have DeMontis Sabonis.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have Kristaps on your list.
All-star team, yeah. So that's why I have to have guys so high. Anyways, yeah, so him making his first all-star team, really boosting this Pacers team. I thought he had a pretty decent year. Pretty decent defender.
Good passer.
Not a horrible shooter, pretty good passer. Yeah, for a big man, he's very good. Unfortunate we didn't really get to see him play in the playoffs this season. I'm not sure. Is he coming back for Game 4 today? I don't know.
I'll check right now, but I don't think he is.
So it looks like his team's going to get swept, which is unfortunate because I thought that could be a good series.
Yeah, he's not close to returning. He's out with a foot injury.
All right, so.
Like 20-12.
Yeah, that's a very good season. So that's why I have him there. So yeah, I have 4. At number 3, I got Spicy P. Pascal Siakam. Start of the bubble wasn't playing super good, but the rest of his team was really picking him up. And in the playoffs, he stepped it up, averaging over 20 points in the playoffs, being aggressive. And, they were playing the Nets, so it's not like it was that big of a deal. But I still think it's good to see that he's playing at that all-star level again. Most improved player last year, as you said, looked like he could be maybe a candidate this year, but he's not. Would have been the first player ever to win back-to-back. That would have been pretty crazy.
That would have been nuts.
But it's not going to happen. So, but I think he's going to lead his team to the finals this season. I think they got to get through Boston though, which is going to be a tough series. Very entertaining series, maybe the best series yet, other than Clippers Mavericks. But
you gotta understand that it's not like Milwaukee's a dumpster fire.
No,
they've played better.
No, but I think I would rather play the Bucks than the Celtics.
I don't.
If I'm the Raptors,
necessarily agree, but I don't necessarily
because of matchups.
Well, we have,
and Chris Middleton hasn't been playing well recently.
We did plow the Bucks last year. We did have Giannis, but everyone on our team got better. So.
Mm-hmm. So that's why I have Pascal at 3. At number 2, I got Anthony Davis. Andrew went on a rant about him not playing center. I think he's okay at the power forward position. I think he's been impressive.
He's good, but he's not.
Yeah, he isn't having his best season ever. But he is playing. He's playing alongside LeBron James, which is hard to. It's hard to have a career season again when you're playing with him compared to when you're playing with Drew Holiday. So, yeah, Andrew, you touched on him a lot, but I think he would be similar if he played center, but I don't really think it matters too much, in my opinion. Next season he's going to wear number 23. I don't really know why I'm bringing this up, but I'm really into jerseys and numbers and stuff, so.
Yeah, that's like your whole thing.
Yeah, I don't really know why. I just like that. Anyways, at number 1, I got the MVP, most likely the defensive player of the year, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not going to pronounce his name like you did because I'm not flight. But, the Greek freak. What's to say, man? Great season. What did he have? How many points? 28?
Like 30.
30?
He basically averaged 30, 12, and 6. Or something along those lines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did. I thought he had,
very
20.
Greek guy numbers.
Yeah, very good numbers. MVP, going to go back-to-back. He's probably the best player in the league now.
He's the best player in the
which makes him the best power forward. So that's my list. I know I didn't talk as much as Andrew because he likes to cover everything, which is good. You have to have somebody like that. But so I guess that's it. Unless you have anything to say before we ended up. Unfortunately, again, we apologize for Nav not being here, but we'll have him back for Wednesday, hopefully. So.
Yeah, so we're going to do our mock draft on Wednesday. Get ready for that episode because I'm actually putting a lot of work into it, getting film ready so that everyone can actually know about the prospects before we take a look at them. So that's going to be a fun episode. That might be our longest episode yet.
Yeah.
So
it's probably gonna be over an hour.
Probably we're gonna have a lot of guys to go through. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We will be back with this series for our last episode with top 10 centers
Next Monday.
And after that, if you want to see any of these, I guess these are like Bleacher Report top like themed episodes. Bleacher Report just lists like this. But if you
we're just gonna call it a weekly series, I guess.
Our weekly whatever the hell series. You get it. So yeah, if you want to see more of this, like and subscribe if you care about if you are a fan of our content. Maybe consider joining the Discord. Consider joining
in the description below.
Yeah, in the description. Just consider joining maybe the what's it called, the Instagram ambassadors program we have. And be sure to like, subscribe, look out for our video on Wednesday, and we will see you next time on 3 in the Key.